Let's talk about it. Let's talk about buying your first home. What does that look like? What are the first steps to the process that you need to take in order to do so? Are there programs out there that'll help you? This video will go through everything with you from start to finish on what that process looks like. So let's start with knowing what you can afford. So beyond the sales price, you need to know, how much can I afford monthly? Because if you're qualified for 450,000, but you don't want a $3,200 payment on a first-time homebuyer program, that's probably something you should know before you find a house at 450 that you want to put an offer on, right? So first step, talking to a local lender. The reason I say local lender is in your local markets, it is something that is important, and a lot of the agents look at that. So all these online lenders that do a quick pre-approval process typically don't pre-approve you properly start to finish. So when you are getting pre-approved, just know you should be turning in your pay stubs, your bank statements, your tax returns. Those are things that any lender should be grabbing from you. Sometimes they don't need your tax returns, but if they aren't grabbing your bank statements and your pay stubs and verifying with your employer that you are actually employed, you're pre-qualified, not pre-approved. So that's something that I would check on first. The second thing that I would go through is explore the programs that are available to you. Now, keep in mind, every lender has a different program. And what I mean by that is a credit union is going to have a different first-time homebuyer program than a local lender. A online lender is going to have a different program than a local lender does. A lot of the online programs don't tell you about the programs that we have in Washington State. For instance, there's a grant program. There's a Washington bond program, both zero down programs. There's a 3-2-1 program where you can get 3% down. They give you a gift card, and then they give you something else. I can't remember what the third thing is, but those are things that you need to look into. There's also a bank here in our local area in Washington State that will do 20% down for you so you don't have any PMI. There's a couple other programs in our state specifically that also don't have any PMI. PMI is private mortgage insurance, and it's usually a good amount extra on your payment per month. So if you can alleviate that PMI, that's going to be beneficial to you. There are different programs in Washington State, like I was saying. There's also FHA, conventional, VA, which is for veterans only, USDA programs, and there's so many programs within those specific programs that if you're looking for something unique or something outside of the box, feel free to reach out to me. I can help you with that stuff. I really research it so I become the best and knowledgeable realtor in town, and I can point you in the right directions to the right lenders. The next thing you'll want to know is like neighborhood selection and the market dynamics. So for instance, right now in our market, Vancouver, Washington, Cowlitz, Clark County is what I service specifically. Anything under 500 that is priced properly is getting multiple offers. And what we mean by market dynamic is if you are a first-time home buyer and you are pre-approved at $450,000 and you go find a $450,000 house, but you need closing costs, there has to be strategy behind it, and there has to be specific things that you write in your offer that will make it competitive, especially with multiple offer situations. Now, sometimes there's going to be times where you don't win the bid. And honestly, a lot of those sellers are driven by price, and that's okay. I know people get their heart set on that specific house and they get upset with their agent when they don't get a winning bid, but just know there are more houses to come, and that's just part of the process. You could win it, you could not win it. It's just something that we go through. I just finished a first-time home buyer transaction this morning, and we put in 2 other offers before we got our current offer accepted. Today is closing day. They get keys. They're super excited. I'm super excited for them. But just know they did put in 2 offers prior to getting another offer accepted. But we did negotiate closing costs for them because it's important for first-time home buyers that we negotiate those closing costs. So the next thing that you'll want to know about first-time home buyers is there's inspections, there's contingencies that you put in the contract, there's a buyer's agency contract. This is huge, 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 huge right now. People are like, what? I have to sign a contract before I ever go see a house? Yes, unfortunately you do. Me personally, I work different than other agents, and other agents may have different protocols that they go through. But basically, what I do is if you haven't met me before and you haven't met me in person and you don't know who I am, I try to reach out to you, sit down with you, go through the process with you so you're very prepared on what's going to happen. If we aren't able to do that and we still have to sign a buyer's agency agreement before we do that, then I send you over a buyer's agency agreement. You sign it for today only. We'll go tour the houses. You'll meet me in person. I will let you know like about the market and my expertise and areas that I can help you. And then from there, you can determine if you want to continue to work together. I think it's very important that people do this. I've gotten many leads this year from people that are saying, oh, I've been working with another agent. I canceled that contract with the other agent. And they haven't given me as much information as you have. I would love to work with you. You seem knowledgeable, you seem honest, you seem ethical, and that's what I strive to be. So if you need some help with that kind of stuff, I can't help you get out of a contract. You're going to have to go talk to your agent on that. But if I can help you move forward after you're not in any contracts or before you sign any contracts, please let me know. I would love to help you. Inspections, you have a 10-day inspection timeline in Washington State. Depending on how you write your contract, though, that inspection timeline could be less or it could be more. It's just default 10 days. Contingencies, there's many different contingencies that we look for and put in an offer, and that is to protect you. The most missed contingencies that I've seen as a listing agent are when you're using a first-time homebuyer program, you have to disclose that on your contract. So if you're not disclosing it and you're writing a contract and you as a buyer are signing it and your agent didn't write it properly, you could be waiving your earnest money. So check that. Also, another one that I see is people that are borrowing from their 401k or borrowing from their IRA or anything like that. They don't put the disclosure form into their contracts, which agents should typically know this, but there are some agents that don't. And if you don't disclose that you are getting that from your 401k and for whatever reason something were to happen and you weren't able to get that money, it's very hard to back out of the transaction and protect that earnest money. So make sure that you are going over all of those things with your agent. Inspections. So there's two different things that are referred to as inspection. There's an inspection and there's an appraisal. They're both inspections. But just know the inspection is for your knowledge only as the buyer. You cannot disclose it to the seller unless they ask for it. If you do disclose it to the seller, you waive your earnest money. Second is the appraisal. The appraisal is for the bank to make sure you're not paying too much for the property. These are both important. The inspection, you get to renegotiate your contract based on your findings. The appraisal will make sure you're not paying too much for the property. And then if there's anything repair-wise that comes up on the appraisal, then the seller will have to repair it in order for you to get financing. The good thing about FHA and VA is that appraisal stays with the property for 6 months. Conventional, it doesn't, so it's a little less negotiating. But most of the time, once sellers get to that point, they don't want to back out of the transaction. A lot of first-time home buyers are in a lease and they're getting ready to either renew the lease or they're getting ready to not renew the lease, obviously. Timing is important. In a transaction, it takes at least 30 days to get it closed. Now, there's some times where it'll take less, there's some times where it will take more, but you need to plan. So that's once you get pre-approved, find a property, put an offer on a property, it's a 30-day timeline. Before that, if your lease is up in January or February, I would start this process now and start working towards what you want to work towards. Now, keep in mind with mortgages, you pay your mortgage a month behind, whereas rent, you pay the month ahead. So for instance, October 1st, you would be paying for October if you were renting, but October 1st on a mortgage, you would be paying September's mortgage. So just know that when you go to buy a house, your first payment is usually 30 to 45 days out from buying that house, depending on what day you close. If you want more guidance and more information, I'm Corey Burke with Windermere Northwest Living here in Vancouver, Washington. I have offices all over the place. So if you want to sit down and go through what that looks like for you, I'm here for you. If you want to message me on any social platforms, feel free to do so. Email, text message. Text is probably the best and most fastest way to get a hold of me, or phone calls as well. So I look forward to helping anyone in the Pacific Northwest that is looking to buy a home for the first time or just looking to buy or sell a home in general. Thanks and have a great day.